Rennu Dhillon, DSC, known to many as Miss Rennu, has been described as a passionate, driven entrepreneur, creating future leaders. Love that. We're going into leadership. Founder of Genius Kids Incorporation, as a well-known Northern California-based accelerated learning franchise founded on August 1st, 2001. It has now become a household name with over 35 centers and growing. When I was researching you, I was like, whoa, you're all over the place. How come I didn't know you before? So I was really impressed by the impact you're doing. So with over 35 years experience in sales, marketing, education, and developing award-winning curriculums, Rennu serves as a mentor for many nonprofit women organizations and children organizations focused on empowering others. So leadership, right? Can you maybe introduce yourself more, sharing your personal something? We love personal juicy details. How did you come up with all of this? What was your beginning? What was your path?
So, well, first of all, thank you so much. I hope I'm going to say your name correctly. It's Zhanna?
Zhanna. It's like genre. It's just
okay, Zhanna. So the
thank
Z
you.
and H is a J, Zhanna.
It's just that.
Zhanna.
This
Okay.
is how it spells.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. It's a real honor. And I was really enjoying listening to Dr. Catherine just before you. I connected with a lot of what she said, especially when she talked about intuition and, you know, the energy of the brain and the body. So that was really interesting. But so I was actually born in Kenya in Africa, in a very small little town. And, you know, there wasn't much in terms of activities I could do after school, other than, of course, sports and swimming, being a coastal town. So I was an extremely hyper child. And I think now that I'm, you know, I'm in education, I think I had ADHD growing up, but nobody ever knew that. So I spent most of my time in timeout, just because I was always bouncing off the chairs and tables and academically always ahead of schedule, but just very boisterous. So my mom enrolled me in a little British theater club at the age of 3, you know, to keep me busy because I talked too much. And I think that was one of the best things she ever did, because I got put on stage and I got exposed to drama and theater from a very young age, and public speaking, which going back in that time in England, they call it elocution. And having done that, I feel that has been one of the best gifts that I had growing up, because I've been able, you know, it gave me confidence. I learned to play so many different characters in these different plays that I did. So I started understanding different people. And so when I came here to this country, I found that was lacking in the education system here. I really felt that there's no class for leadership as such. And children are really waiting until they get to middle or high school to do speech and debate. But speech and debate is totally different from leadership. You know, I'm talking about, for me, public speaking is what even you and I are doing right now. We're talking in front of more than one person. So I really felt that was a need. So I started Genius Kids actually to teach science and public speaking back in 2001, and it just evolved. The program became very successful, and the next thing I know, I developed it into a preschool, a pre-K, kindergarten, and here we are 19 years later, and we have preschools and we have after-school programs, and I kind of write all the curriculum. So that's really, in short, what my journey has been. And I'm a big believer that, you know, regardless of all the learning we do in school, I think one of the most critical subjects we have to teach our children and get them exposed to is public speaking and communication, because that is basically the core of everything we do in our life, speaking.
Right. Impressive, I can say. Wow. And as Erin Huey mentioned before, ADHD is a gift, actually. We just get to know how to twist it, how to use it, not just to dwell on negative part of ADHD. We can learn how to deal with it, but actually using it. And
Absolutely.
this is why you're probably very successful entrepreneur.
You know, I tell parents when they come to me and they say, my child is different, you know, they behave differently from others. I'm like, that's good. You want to be unique. And I think we can take, I don't like to call it, difficulties, and people want to call it learning difficulties. I don't think it's a learning difficulty. I think this is a tweak, with just a little genetic mutation that's a little different from everyone else. And if you apply it in the right way and you apply your energy in the right way, you actually can do a lot of things. So,
right.
yeah.
I think the most part that scares parents is the unpredictability if they want to be entrepreneurs. The word in itself is just so scary. Entrepreneurs, what does it mean? Are they going to be going to college, or entrepreneurs means no college, I'm going to do whatever.
Right.
So the fear of like
fear of the unknown.
Right. What I'm going to do with this? Am I a bad parent if they don't go to college? All of the things. So why do you feel children need to be taught to express themselves?
Communication is key in everything we do, whether it's your personal relationship, whether it's in your career, family, it doesn't matter. Everything we do is about how you communicate. And I mean, there are different types of communication, and, from your body language, your eye contact, to your verbal communication. And I think children need to learn that, because nobody really makes an effort to go and take classes in that. And sometimes, I mean, if people ask, are people born natural speakers? I don't think anyone's born like a natural public speaker. I think these are skills you acquire. So if you have someone that you can be mentored with, and I use the word win with words. My curriculum is called Win with Words. I tell parents that if you can expose your child to this kind of a program, you can win anything with the right choice of words. And there's always this saying that says you could sell oil to Arabs, if you have the right choice of words. But I really feel it's so important that, especially now, with everyone being on cell phones and just texting, the whole concept of human connection and communication is just not there anymore. And I really feel that needs to be brought back, because texting and social media has kind of taken that away. So I'm all about, personal connection.
Right. And let me move this. And usually, let's say I have large Russian speaking population, which is not necessarily Russians. Like, we have the whole spectrum of nationalities in Russian speaking populations. And we also, the thing that we need to invest most of the parents is math skills. We hire tutors, we do math is everything, but apparently our communication is more important. I feel that. I can feel you. Like, honestly, I feel,
South Asian parents,
even with no degree, if you have this ability to deliver the message.
Well, even, South Asian parents too, we spend all our time focusing on math, because we think, we were going to create these amazing engineers, which is fine. But I tell parents, that you're an amazing engineer.
We don't want to devalue math. Math is good. It's needed,
math is good. But if you want to, but you got to be able to communicate your math skills as well. So communication comes with that.
Right. So many parents have the stigma that, like, okay, if my child is not born with it, which is, I incorporate a little bit of it too. Then I caught myself on, okay, some kids were born with art, being great artists. Some kids are better in math. And the stigma was following me for quite a while, like many years, that we have this talent. So, like, I'm not really good at history. I'm better in communication and math. So for this, I make impression I'm this way. Correct. But actually, it can be learned. Like, it's not necessary like you're broke because you were not born with social skills. So how? So the question is, go back to question, are children born confident? So I want you to clarify to me once and forever, are they born confident, or is it a skill that can be developed and taught?
So children have different personalities. You know, some kids are going to come out a little quieter. I don't like to use the word shy. Some kids are a little quiet and some kids are a little bit more boisterous. But confidence, I believe, is something that is learned over time, and it's all about the environment that you're in. So as parents, the book that I wrote is about being a parent coach. As parents, I really feel that we're the first and lifetime educators for our children. You know, we can't rely on teachers and pass the buck over to the teachers. They will do their job. But as parents, right from the day the baby is born, you can start simple exercises with eye contact with your baby. I mean, it starts from there. Just simple eye contact and connecting with your baby and communicating with them. And as they grow along, you develop their confidence. And that's really done by lots and lots of positive reinforcement. And, you know, we all want to be great parents. I mean, who says they don't want to be a good parent? We all want to be great parents. But I think what happens sometimes is we become too judgmental in our process. And then when you have more than one child, you start to compare. And we don't realize, but without our knowledge, we sometimes will kill the confidence in our children just by simple comparisons with cousins, with friends. You know, I mean, even if you use an example of math, you'll say something like, well, how come you couldn't get that problem? You know, your sister did it in one go. Why did you not do it? Now, just that statement, you've just killed confidence. So I really feel that confidence is something that's learned and acquired over time through the right enforcement of positive, right words. And if you can make your child, you know, behind every child who believes in themselves is a parent who believed in them first. So if you believe in your child, they can do anything they want to do because you made them feel that this is going to be possible. Whether it, you know, I mean, I was terrible at engineering. I could even today, I cannot build Lego to save my life. But I don't want to be told that I can't do it. I want to be told, hey, that's pretty good, but why don't you try it this way? And by giving them simple little tools, you will build and develop confidence. So to answer your question, we are born with different personalities, but confidence is something that comes from your environment and from what your exposure that you are raised, whether it's at school, at home, whoever you're interacting with, is what's going to make or break who you are sometimes later on in your life.
Yeah, that's landing. Yeah, it's sinking. Good. So, okay, I learned how to, let me be a teenager. So I learned how to be expressing what I feel, expressing my thoughts. Why is public speaking so critical? Why, it's like social anxiety. I have social anxiety fears and I don't want to go public. Like, so why it's so important?
So I think the word public scares everybody. If you think about it, if we remove the word public out of the word, it's speaking. You and I are actually speaking right now, but we're actually public speaking because I'm speaking to you and there are other people listening to me. So right now we're doing public speaking. So it's a critical skill because anything you do in your life, you're not just going to always talk to one person. You're going to be at events where you talk to more than one person. And I think a lot of people consider public speaking as standing on stage with a microphone in front of them, speaking to a large group. But think about it now, even with COVID, we're doing public speaking all the time on Zoom. You don't have to be on stage now with a microphone. You can just be on Zoom and you're doing this. So it's become even more so critical now than what it was 20 years ago. Every single one of us, doesn't matter what career we're in, we're all going to be exposed at some time to have to present to more than one person. And the ability to be able to learn how to win with words, the ability of being able how to deliver your message in an effective way, there are tools. There are special techniques of how to say things the right way. And I think everyone has to learn that. And even if we take our work out of it, just in your personal relationship, you know, how you communicate with your spouse. You know, you can, there's so many different things you can do with your relatives, your spouse, your children. So I think it's just a very, very essential life skill. It should be number one on the list for me.
Yeah, I agree to that. For doing, like, there's a lot in this, like, because we for doing this, we get to learn how to be uncomfortable and how to stay with uncomfortable, because like our tendency is finding comfort. Like, so if I'm scared of speaking or public speaking, I'm just gonna be like this in front of computer the whole time. And the more they do it, the more we do it, the more we are in COVID mode, not socializing, the more we're like shifting toward our anxieties and fears and being less social. So basically, even people who have this social, like exposure fears, exposure is a therapeutic tool. We use exposure, therapists use exposure to get rid of anxieties, to heal anxieties. So learning how to speak publicly is basically accepting, okay, there is uncomfortable feelings inside of me, but I'm still deciding. It's a commitment. I would say it's a commitment, realizing I need it, and it's a commitment.
And I think not only that, but if you teach your child to communicate, you're going to build a much better relationship with them, because we all know that when we hit our teen years, we start, I mean, I know for myself, I used to read about being a parent of a teenager, and then I experienced it. And I think communication is so essential, because you have to learn to communicate with different types of personalities. How you talk to your child at the age of 5 versus 8 years old versus 13 and then 17 is different. So again, even as parents, we are constantly learning how to communicate better. And for children, if you can teach them how to express themselves without fear, you will be able to stay connected with your child, so that during those critical teen years, when they are having issues, maybe peer pressure at school or bullying or whatever it may be, they are able to come back to you and not have this fear of being judged, because you've taught them how to come back and speak their mind. And I think that's so important.
Right. And how parents can be how parents can take more active role, like what does a parent coach mean, like how we can train our children to.
So I think the first thing we have to remember is, I think the one very important, I read this somewhere and I wrote it down today to say this, is it was said by somebody called Wayne Dyer, and he said that your children are not your children. They come through you, but they are life waiting to express themselves. So I think we have to first remember that we cannot control our children. Naturally, you don't want, I mean, if you see somebody that's going to walk into a ditch, your human instinct is good to pull them back. But sometimes as parents, we tend to be overprotective. And we have to remember that our children want to live their own lives eventually, but we can guide them. And another thing, what we have to remember is, you can only guide them so much. And at the end of it, they're going to develop their own path. And you can't hold yourself responsible if it's a path that you have, that's not something you wanted them to do. So I think keeping those two things in mind, as a parent coach, we have to remember that we have to be there to advise them. If you can build a relationship with your child, has no fear to come back to you and be able to say, I think I goofed up, or I think I did something terrible today, you've built one of the best relationships. Rather than you hear from someone else or hear when it's too late. Simple things. And I gave an example, starting as babies. When you start teaching eye contact is so critical. So one of the simple practices we do even in our preschool is, anytime we're speaking to any child, we always say, can you look at me and speak? And the teacher has to do the same thing. That's one. Secondly is simple things like, speak to me in a full sentence. Can you express that? Not just yes and no, because if you have conversations with just yes and no, that's not a conversation. So teach your child to express themselves in full sentences. But as a parent, you need to be listening. Put your cell phones away and listen to your child. And you got to be able to read through the lines. So I think what happens is, we are so busy nowadays in our lives, and we spend as much time on our cell phones as our children, that communication breaks down. And even if you're driving, you're actually on your phone and you're talking to them, but you're really not paying attention to what they're saying. Kids want to know that they're important in your life. So if you're going to spend quality time with them, make sure it's real quality time. And I think that's so important to use that. So I give simple exercises to parents starting from when they're little, when they come home every day, invest in a microphone. It's just a fun little tool. Get a little karaoke system and have this little session in the evenings where you say, can everybody stand up for a few minutes and tell us one not so good thing that happened in your day? Don't always start with the good. Start with the not so good and then the good. Because now again, your child will start telling you things that you should know, because everybody wants to come back and say, oh, I got 5 stars on my math, but how many of them want to come and tell you that they bit somebody at school and got time out? So if you can teach them to come back and tell you things that are not so good, you're starting to pave that relationship with your child to, again, not have fear. And the reason why children don't come to us is because they fear us. They fear the outcome of judgment. They fear, oh my God, what are you going to do? And sometimes as parents, we projected ourselves to be very perfect. So that's another thing Dr. Catherine said, which I really relate to, is that share your own experiences. If you goofed up as a kid, it's okay. I mean, I tell my kids that I was in timeout, I was always bouncing off the walls and I was spend most of my time talking out of line. And I'm not that perfect. I was never that perfect kid at all. And, trying to project that we get straight A's all the time and we were just outstanding student is not good for your kid. You need to show them that you're human and you made mistakes and that it's okay to make mistakes. It's part of learning. So that's all, again, back to communication. It really boils down to communicate, express, express, express.
Right. And that's the hard part. And this is exactly what our teenagers see. They see us being super perfect, superior, and they're feeling so miserable. They even feel they don't deserve like lots of stuff. This is what I hear from teenagers. And the communication is definitely broken. And we also start with being vulnerable. Yeah, that's a good practice. And it's not comfort zone for many parents. They want to be all superior. No, when I was teenager, I was so perfect. That's not possible.
Yeah, it's not possible.
That's not possible. Then you're not human. It's not possible. But for some reason, you're just choosing how superior you are. Like, what do you think your teenagers is going to feel comparing to you? So, okay, if you want to be like super superior, do it to your friend, to your mom, to your relatives. In front of your children, I'm so agreeing with what you're saying. And Charlotte Resnick was mentioning it, and Rebecca also mentioning it. And like vulnerability is a key to build this relationship.
And I think, especially here, there are parents who are super achievers. I mean, they're CEOs of companies and they're doing really well. And children hear this all the time. And
it's not bad, right? It's not bad. I don't want to put this parent into bad.
Exactly. I mean, those are great.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. But at the same time, don't build it up to the point where your child feels they need to be like you, because maybe they don't want to be like you. And it's okay. Our job is to guide them. But if they don't want to be like you and they have their own path, that's okay. It's all right. Guide them. And at the end of it, they have to choose their own path.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Thank you. Because like, if you're that strong and superior and like, that's your talent, I was navigating this family, like, that's your superpowers. Use it to just support your child, like see what they need. Like, okay, they're just like their father, whatever. Okay, if you are the one who is having the social skills superpower, just use this. I love what you're saying. So I also wanted to ask you a little bit about your backgrounds, about your family. You're coming from diverse women, entrepreneur. Wow.
So actually, I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs at all.
I mean, your family, you are entrepreneur, and your backgrounds are like a minority, right?
Yes.
And you're women in business. It's not always, used to be not always an easy path. So can you please share?
So my dad was a doctor, my mom was a teacher, and it was kind of, so I grew up in a family that was very strict. I grew up with the parent who tells you, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And went to boarding school, and my path was chosen for me. I mean, if I had the choice to choose my career, I think I would have become an actress. But
I was willing to ask these questions, like, because I know the background of our, like, the history of, yeah, I meant to ask the question, how did you break through
very
the
difficult.
expectations? I found the word.
So it was tough. Every time I told them what I wanted to do, I would be given the raised eyebrow look, like acting. It was unheard of at that time.
Not even a profession.
Yeah. So my path was actually chosen for me, and I became a pharmacist. I'm actually trained as a pharmacist. But the first opportunity I got to break away from there, I did. And so when I got married and came to this country, my first husband was in the franchise business, and I assumed I would be in pharmacy. And when I went to apply for jobs here in pharmacy, they told me I had to go back to school all over again. And I wasn't going to do that, having just graduated already for 5 years. So I actually joined my first husband in his business of developing franchises, which were the Subway sandwich franchise. And that's where I realized that I had the ability to do business, because I was running businesses and I was selling franchises to people. And unfortunately, I went through a divorce, and that was probably I always think one of the things that really encouraged me to take my own path, because I spent the first 25 years of my life listening to what my parents told me to do. And then I spent the next 4 years after that listening to what my husband told me to do. So I decided at 28, I've listened to everybody, enough is enough. I'm going to listen to myself. And I always say a divorce was a slow death to an incredible beginning for me. That was the beginning of my life. And after that, I have never looked back. I made my own decisions. I left the career of pharmacy. I realized I was good at business, and I said, you know what, let me tap into that. Let me see what I can do. And that's been my journey. And I think as a woman, it's not been easy, but I use the ability of the communication skills, the public speaking that I learned. And one thing my parents, my dad especially, taught me a lot, built a lot of confidence with me. I was always exposed to speeches, and he was a politician as well. So I used to watch him prepare for his speeches, and I kind of mimicked him. And I used that as my skill, and I used my voice to get what I want. And no, it's not been an easy journey at all. It's still difficult even now. And I come from a community where even as women, we are, the role is go home and stay, you can be careered, can have a career, but your role is to go home in the kitchen and cook. I decided that's not going to be me. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I really tell and encourage, that's why I like to empower women. And I tell women, you can be a great mom, you can have a great career, and you can balance yourself, and you can be a great wife and a great friend. But, you don't sacrifice things for others if you don't want to do it, because one day you'll wake up and you'll be 50 years old and you'll say, darn it, why haven't I done all the things I want to do? And then you can't turn the clock back. So if your heart tells you this, going back again to Dr. Catherine, your instinct tells you, do it. Nobody should stop you. You have to live life on your own terms. And I want to teach all the children that live life on your own terms, as long as you're not hurting anyone. What's good for you, you should know.
And you were in your bio. I'm reading it right now. So creating your own story. Speaking of do what you want to do. So you launch a show, right?
Yes, I have a couple of radio shows. Yes.
Creating your own story, and focused on relationships and finding life partners. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
So one of my business models I did when I had to pay attorney fees to fight custody battles, to have 3 jobs to go through a divorce, is it was very hard to be divorced in our South Asian community, because nobody wanted to know you. We were kind of like the taboo group of women. So I started a small divorce group of moms, single moms. That next thing flourished into single people. And the next thing I knew, I was this matchmaker hooking people up. So one of my friends said, hey, you know what? You need to make some extra bucks. Why don't you charge people to hook them up? And I said, yeah, good idea. So I started a matrimonial dating agency years ago that did very well. And then when the internet came, I sold it and I moved on to other things. But not post-COVID, a lot of people came back to me going, you know what, these apps of meeting people on the apps and swiping left and right don't work anymore. You should just go back to the old method of introduction. So my friend and I have launched this again, just as a fun thing. And we want to hook people up, but we don't use the word husband and wife anymore, because I think that's changing. We use the word life partner. And for me, finding a life partner, again, boils down to your confidence. You have to know what you're looking for. And at the same time, you don't have to have a life partner. And I think I'm trying to educate people, just like we educate our children, that just because somebody else is doing it, what's good for them doesn't mean it's good for you. And there's, and as women, you don't have to have a man next to you. If you find the right person, great, go on that journey. If not, that's okay. You go on your journey on your own and find your own path. It's better to be single and happy than to be married and miserable. So.
And we were not taught that way. Like, I'm really glad you're bringing this up, because like there was usually something wrong with you if you don't have a partner.
Oh yeah, if you're not married by 24, if there's something wrong with you if you're not married by 24. Yes, I mean there's clearly
in my culture also, like if young lady is not married by 18 or at around 18, then she's going to be all alone. Yes. Everyone is going to be taking many limiting beliefs around this. Yeah,
but that unfortunately that's a stereotype mentality we have, right? When it's funny, when you meet a man who's 35 and not married, nobody will say, why isn't he married? What's wrong with him? But if it's a woman, the first thing is, what's wrong with her? Why isn't she married? There's must be something wrong. Why does it have to be something wrong? So I think that the society is changing. And I think as women, I mean, I know we're changing, but again, going back to teenagers, especially if we have teenage daughters, we don't need to raise them to be stereotyped. Let them find their own path. And a woman should be taught to find her own financial independence. And then along the way, if she meets the right person, great. And if not, who cares? That's confidence, right?
Yeah. I like, even knowing this, it was a concern for me. Like I was automatically behaving on some patterns that I've learned. So I with my head and with my heart, I know it's normal. Like my daughter was not into relationship until like maybe now she's 19, right? Second years in college. But at school, like many teenagers, they start dating at 14, 16, 15, and she was 18, and I was asking her if she likes someone. She's like, Mom, I'm busy all the time. She was a dancer. She was dancing 5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, 4 hours per day. She was like, she's still like that. She's like really like doing lots of stuff. What I'm saying, I'm losing my thought. I'm picking up back. So it's normal. So it doesn't have to be abnormal if you're not dating. That's the point.
Right. It goes back again to the stereotype, right? It's just like if parents come and say, how come my child is not doing this at this age? It's okay. Unless it's something that's physical that you have to consult with the doctor. If I think it's okay for kids to just, some child might bloom a little later on in life, and that's all right. So the comparisons and expectations, as parents, and we get it from our parents as well. I mean, I sometimes notice I'm mimicking exactly what my parents used to say, and I have to step back and go, whoa, that doesn't conform with what's happening today. And the way we were raised is so different than how we're raising our children, and the way our children are going to raise their kids is going to be totally different. So I think,
the surprising factor was for me that I know this and I'm still having the thing around this. I don't even know how to fight this.
Because it's inbred. It's inside you.
I know, right?
Yeah. It's kind of, you really have to come out of it.
So we have, how many minutes we have? Let's see, 2:15. We have still around 7-8 minutes. So I want you to tell about your resources, your books, programs, so how people can find you, what gift you're offering.
Sure.
All of this.
So we have if anyone's interested in learning public speaking, Right now, everything is virtual. We have a website called womenwithwordsonline.org, which I know you put into the group. And you can go on there. Those are programs that are pre-recorded. We have pre-recorded already classes that you can study online. But if you want a live instructor, then we have classes on that too. You can just shoot me an email through the website, and we can definitely organize either group classes for your child or even, private classes if you want. I also have a radio show called Conquer the Mic every Saturdays, where we have different age groups every Saturdays, and we give you topics, and your child just comes on and expresses themselves. And it's just fun, easy things. Like
oh my God.
Yeah.
Can you repeat
Saturday,
that, please?
Yeah, it's
how to find
Conquer the Mic. And it's on 11:70 a.m. And we also have it live on Facebook. You can go to my Facebook page as well and see that. And what we do is every week we have different grade levels. So like next week it's grades 1 to 3, and then the week after it's grades 4 to 8. And yesterday, Saturday was preschoolers. And we just give them different topics, and they prepare, and they just come on and spend a few minutes talking. But now it's an opportunity and a platform for you to speak and learn how to express your words. And kids are on the radio. So it's a really great way, because they can watch themselves afterwards and say, oh my God, I was speaking in front of so many people, because there's 300,000 people watching you or listening to you. So it's a great way to give your child that weekly exercise for public speaking.
That sounds so amazing. I already know who would be interested. That Anna, it's for you, my friend, and she has nonprofit school after school, so she's like teaching them French or art.
We'd love that. Yes.
Oh,
and it's free.
We should collaborate. Yeah,
we have kids coming in from South Africa, Romania, Bolivia. They're all logging in all around the world, and they come in. So that's really great. Yes. Okay. Somebody's already found me and put it on there. Yes, that's right. Conquer the Mic. Yes.
So okay, and
then I have my book. If anyone's interested, I have my book here. It's called.
Hold on. Let me put you on a spotlight so they would see you.
Hold on. Show with the green screen if you can see it. Actually, my book is on my.
Do you see yourself only? Do you see yourself only, or you still see me?
No, I can see myself. But if you look at my background, there's a little picture of my cute little granddaughter there with a microphone in her hand. And that's called Raise Confident Children. It's available on Amazon. And I've written a book with all kinds of parenting tips of what you can do at home to develop leadership and confidence for your child. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of written it based on what I call 13 life skills that you have to learn. And for me, in order for you to become confident and a communicator, you have to learn these critical life skills, which include understanding, conflict resolution, how to cope, how to contribute give back to others, charisma, creativity. There's 13 life skills that end up making you a great communicator with great confidence. So that's available on Amazon as well. Yes. And in actual fact, I didn't think about this before. If anybody would love to if they've been on your show today and they're listening and they want to get a free copy of the book, just contact you and I'll be very happy to ship it out to them as a compliment. For me, I want this message to go out to all the parents so you can be amazing parent coaches.
Yeah, you can mention that you were on the show. Let's name it TeenUp, like TeenUp, teenagers show TeenUp, emotionally healthy parenting. And you will get the book. Awesome. Yes. It sounds super great. Also, like I look at my papers, like I'm trying to not to miss stuff. And so the importance of developing 13 C's.
Yeah, 13 C's.
Which are critical life skills to raise a confident child.
Right. That's what's in my book. And that's what I've written. I give you all the little tools. After each chapter, I give you 5 things you can do at home, simple activities at home of how you can develop, for example, creativity, charisma, how to connect with your child, which ends up when you have all these life skills, you become confident. And with confidence, you become a great communicator.
So it's very practical, very good.
Yes,
So
it's a very hands-on book.
So, okay, sounds very awesome. You still have 3 minutes if you have this message you want to throw in the air for parents, how to better support their teenagers, their rebellion, they are separating from parents. So in this situation, how parents can support inspire the leadership,
So I think
inspire
I
to learning
leave.
how to speak better, communicate?
Yeah, I think I'll give a couple of messages out there. I think, first of all, we all have to remember that parenting is one of the hardest things we can do. But in exchange, we need to learn the meaning of unconditional love. So don't put conditions on your child. You know, if you do this, I love you. You know, no, that all needs to go. It's got to be unconditional love. Your child should always know that they can come back to you. You're their safe zone. And that's so important. I think that's just so critical. And that boils down to communication. And I think rules without a relationship results in rebellious. Relationship without rules results in chaos. But relationship
I love
plus
that.
rules
Just love
results
this.
in respect and responsibility. And I think that's just something very, very important. And the only thing I would want to leave everybody, the message I would want to leave today is, although it's our job to raise confident, resilient children, it is not our job to tough our children up to face a cruel, heartless world. Instead, it's our job to raise children who will make the world a little less cruel and a little less heartless. So let's raise compassionate children by showing being a compassionate parent as well. I think that's so important.
Oh, it's really, really well said. Thank you so much for this message. It's a wonderful message, wonderful conclusion for our conversation.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with us, it was Rennu, Dhillon, and we were talking about leadership, about clear communication, and how it is important to incorporate when our children are still young. Correct. So thank you so much. And I hope we're going to stay connected because there's Absolutely. Much more we can do. I'm going to connect you and my friend Anna, if Anna is listening, about this.
Conquer the Mic.
Yeah, Conquer the Mic group. So thank you so much for coming to my summit.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, and we're moving forward. Oh my God. Sorry for this. I'm going to grab the books, and the books are right here for my